for the Planet of the Apes is directed by Matt Reeves and stars Andy Serkis as Caesar. Following the events of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the humans have now been fighting with the apes for a couple of years. In this movie, the apes are now dealing with a new enemy. And through a series of events, Caesar goes on a journey to avenge what has happened to not only himself, but all of the apes. And now, of course, there is all-out war between the apes and humans. Guys, I was extremely excited for this movie. Rise of the Planet of the Apes I felt like was a very good movie, very well told, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes I felt like was an even better movie. So obviously, I was extremely excited to see this movie. It was one of my top 10 most anticipated movies of the year, and my expectations were extremely high for War of the Planet of the Apes. Also, take note, I saw this movie on Thursday night, so I've had a little bit of time to sleep on this movie and to think about it more, so this is basically what I think about it. So first off, let's talk about the thing that most people mention when it comes to these movies. The motion capture work, once again, is magnificent. Those apes in this movie look like real apes. It's such good work made by these amazing professionals. And the CGI overall is seamless in this film. It is so well done. And once again, Andy Serkis gives an incredible performance as Caesar. I think it's his best performance to this date. It also helps that he actually talks in this entire movie. The first one, he barely said anything. The second one, he talked a lot more, but this one, he has a lot of dialogue. And I think because of those two things, this movie deserves to get a couple Oscars. One thing that I really like about this movie is that it keeps me invested from beginning to end, and it's telling a very good story. It also keeps the themes that the first two movies did and added onto it. And one of those things is that us as audience members, we know we're human, and when watching these movies, we know what the humans are doing is wrong. And it's hard for us to root against the humans, but since they're technically doing the thing that's wrong, we have to root for the apes. And like the first two movies, there are many dramatic scenes, very intense scenes, and that keep you on the edge of your seat, very suspenseful. Also, I'd like to mention that there seems to be a lot at stake in this movie. We've gone through the first two movies feeling so much for Caesar and all the apes, and because we care so much about these characters and because of how well developed some of these characters are, there seems to be so much at stake. And we really care a lot about these characters, especially Caesar. We've been riding his train for 3 movies now, and I've honestly grown to love the character of Caesar. And the story also being told here flows extremely well from Dawn into this movie. And I feel like it's very fitting and epic to be here, placed in the 3rd movie of an intense trilogy. And I love the direction this movie went in at times. I feel like it took risks, and those risks paid off. Also, I'm going to go ahead and say the first 30 minutes of this movie were my favorite scenes in this entire film. The dialogue was very well written, the movie itself was extremely intense, and I loved the first 30 minutes of this movie. Not saying after that it wasn't good, but the first 30 minutes was extremely intense, and I loved every single second of it. At that point, it was a perfect 100%. So there's a lot of great things that this movie did really well. It took a lot from the first two movies and improved upon, and there's just so much in this movie that I loved. But there also are some problems that I have with this movie that make me feel that, in my opinion, it's not as good as Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. One of those things was Woody Harrelson's character. When he was on screen, he was great, but the biggest problem I had was they didn't utilize him all that much. And his character arc at the end of the film, I didn't think was that great. It was sort of a similar problem I had in Dawn with Gary Oldman's character. He's a great actor, and I wish they utilized him more in that movie. Also, the ending of this movie felt completely rushed, which was very disappointing for me. Literally, at the end of the climax, there was about 3 minutes between then and the last shot of the movie, and that was it, and I was very disappointed. And there was also a huge plot hole that left me scratching my head and thinking, that makes no sense at all. Finally, I can't really blame this problem on the movie itself. I blame this more on the marketing for the film. But what the marketing showed us was an all-out action war film, but we didn't really get that at all. There's maybe about 1 or 2 action scenes in the entire movie, and that's about it. Other than that, this movie is an all-out drama, intense film. And therefore, I feel like it did not need to be named War for the Planet of the Apes. It's just a little nitpick, but still, I can't really blame that on the movie, but it's something that bothers me in a way. And there were some slow scenes in this movie, and I was hoping more would happen, but this movie is basically a journey of Caesar, and you just go on his journey, and there's a lot of great things with his story being told, but I feel like they could have gone even further and expanded upon what they kept building on. And I'm gonna say, I really like this movie, but it just did not do what Dawn of the Planet of the Apes did for me. That movie completely exceeded my expectations and went above and beyond. I thought that movie was fantastic. This one, on the other hand, I had huge expectations, but was left a little bit down by the end. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give War for the Planet of the Apes an 89%. It's a very good movie. I think it's one of the best of the year so far, but there are a couple things I have nitpicks with, but honestly, this movie is terrific in many scenes and a lot of very intense sequences. I was very pleased for the most part with this movie. There are just a couple things, like I said, that they could have done a little bit better, especially with that rushed ending. And out of the trilogy, I do feel like Dawn remains the king. That is the best movie, I feel like, in this trilogy. Many people think this is the best one, but it's up to you guys. Let me know down below in the comment section what you thought was the best movie in this trilogy, as well as the worst one. Alright guys, so within the next week, I have a couple more cool videos coming for you all, as well as my reviews for The Dark Knight Rises and Interstellar and Dunkirk. I cannot wait to review all those movies, especially Dunkirk. That is my most anticipated movie of the year. It's hopefully going to be great. We'll see. I'm very nervous. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.